She tried to quit after a night with her billionaire CEO boss, but he was already in love with her. I'm resigning. The words hung in the air between us like shattered glass. Alexei stood there in that Napa Valley villa, water still dripping from his hair, a towel wrapped around his waist, staring at me like I had just driven a knife through his chest. You're what? His voice was barely a whisper, but I heard the crack in it. The disbelief. The hurt. I'm resigning. Effective immediately. I can't work for you anymore. Not after last night. I watched his face change. Watched the man who had held me so tenderly just hours ago, who had whispered that he loved me against my skin, who had made me feel like the most precious thing in the world. I watched him retreat behind. The cold mask he wore in boardrooms with difficult investors. I see. His jaw tightened. If that's what you want. But it wasn't what I wanted. God. It was the furthest thing from what I wanted. What I wanted was to rewind 12 hours, to that moment on the terrace, when he first kissed me, and live in that perfect bubble forever. What I wanted was to stop the panic clawing at my chest, the voices screaming in my head that girls like me don't get fairy tale endings with billionaire restaurateurs. What I wanted was to believe that love could be enough. It's what's best. The lie tasted like poison on my tongue. For who, Natalia? For who is this best? And I couldn't answer him, because the truth was too terrifying to speak out loud. Have you ever wanted something so desperately that the fear of losing it made you destroy it first? Have you ever loved someone you convinced yourself you could never have? Have you ever stood at the edge of everything you ever dreamed of and chosen to jump backward instead of forward because at least falling on familiar ground felt safer than flying into the unknown? This is that story. My name is Natalia Reyes, and I almost let fear steal the greatest love of my life. But before I tell you how it all worked out, how I went from his personal chef to his partner in everything, how I learned that worthiness isn't something you earn, but something you claim, let me take you back to where it really started. Because the ending, you won't see it coming. But if you've ever struggled between your heart and your head, between terror and possibility, between playing it safe and risking everything for a chance at real happiness, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens next will challenge everything you think you know about love, success, and the courage it takes to believe you deserve both. Let's go back, 2 years before that devastating morning in Napa. Back to the moment I first walked into Alexei Cross's world and had no idea he would change mine forever. The kitchen at Elysee smelled like heaven. Truffle oil, fresh herbs, something rich and buttery in the oven that made my mouth water even though I was too nervous to eat. I stood there in my only professional blazer, the one I'd bought at a thrift store, and had tailored to fit, clutching my portfolio of recipes like it was a life preserver. I was 26 years old, 2 months out of culinary school, drowning in student debt, and about to interview for a position that felt completely out of my league. Miss Reyes? I turned and forgot how to breathe. Alexei Cross didn't look like a billionaire, or maybe he did, but not in the way I expected. He wore dark jeans and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, exposing forearms that were surprisingly muscular. His dark hair had that effortlessly messy look that probably took effort, and his eyes, his eyes were this deep brown that seemed to see straight through my carefully practiced composure. He was 34. I'd researched him obsessively before this interview. Russian-Italian heritage. Built his first restaurant at 25, with money he'd earned working 80-hour weeks in other people's kitchens. Now owned 7 of the most celebrated establishments in the Bay Area. Forbes estimated his net worth somewhere north of $40 million, though some said it was much higher. But what the articles didn't capture was the intensity he carried. The way he looked at you like you were the only person in the room. The quiet authority that made seasoned chefs twice his age defer to his judgment. Mr. Cross, I extended my hand, grateful it wasn't shaking. Thank you for seeing me. His handshake was firm, warm. Call me Alexei, and I'm the one who should be thanking you for coming in on such short notice. He gestured toward the kitchen. My previous personal chef decided to open his own place in Portland, left me in a bit of a bind. I need someone who understands my vision, who can work independently, who isn't afraid to challenge me when they think I'm wrong. He paused, studying me with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. Your instructors at the academy spoke very highly of you. Said you have instincts that can't be taught, so I'm going to do something I don't usually do in interviews. He moved to the gleaming stainless steel counter and pulled out a cutting board, a knife, and ingredients I couldn't quite see. I'm going to give you 30 minutes. Make me something that tells me who you are. Not what you think I want to eat. Not what's trendy or what wins competitions. Something honest. My hands were shaking now, but in a good way. The nervousness transformed into the familiar thrill I always felt when faced with a creative challenge. Any restrictions? None. Use whatever you want. Impress me, Natalia. The way he said my name with just a hint of his accent softening the vowels did something strange to my stomach that I refused to examine. I moved through that kitchen like I was dancing. This was where I felt most myself, most confident, most alive. I chose ingredients instinctively. Heirloom tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, basil, but also chipotle, lime, cotija cheese. I was making something between Italian caprese and Mexican pico de gallo, something that honored both the cuisine he was known for and the heritage I carried. My abuela's voice echoed in my head as I worked. Food is love, mija. Cook from your heart, and people will taste the truth. I plated it simply, layered the tomatoes and cheese, drizzled the chipotle lime reduction I'd made, scattered the basil and cotija, added a touch of microgreens for color. When I turned around, Alexei was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. I call it intersection. It's where I come from meeting where I want to go. Traditional techniques with the flavors that remind me of home. He didn't say anything, just picked up the fork and took a bite. And then he closed his eyes. It was only for a second, maybe two, but I saw something shift across his face. Not just appreciation, something deeper, like he was hearing music only he could detect. When he opened his eyes, they were bright with something that looked almost like emotion. When can you start? I blinked. That's it? You don't want to discuss salary or schedule or... I pay extremely well. The hours will be long and often unpredictable. You'll travel with me occasionally. You'll have full creative control over my personal menu, with input on the restaurant's seasonal changes. And Miss Reyes? Yes? His smile was small but genuine. You just made me taste my grandmother's garden in Tuscany in a street market in Oaxaca at the same time, and I've never been to Mexico. When someone can do that with food, when they can make you feel something, that's not a skill you interview for. That's a gift you say yes to immediately before someone else snatches you up. I start in 2 weeks. He nodded, extending his hand again. Welcome to the family, Natalia. That was the beginning. The moment I entered Alexei Cross's orbit and started the slow, terrifying process of falling in love with a man I thought I could never have. Those first few months were a blur of early mornings and late nights, of learning his preferences and his quirks, of discovering that the demanding perfectionist from the articles was also someone who noticed when I was tired and would send me home early, who asked about my family, who actually listened when I talked about my dreams of maybe someday opening my own place. He treated me with respect, always professional, always appropriate. But there were moments when our hands would brush passing ingredients and the air would crackle with something neither of us acknowledged. Moments when he'd taste something I made and look at me with such appreciation it felt intimate. Moments when I'd catch him watching me work with an expression I didn't dare interpret. And slowly, terrifyingly, I fell. I fell for the way he'd argue with me about the perfect ratio of acid to fat in a vinaigrette, never pulling rank, genuinely wanting my opinion. I fell for the time I came in to find him elbow deep in dishes because the night crew had called in sick and he refused to leave a mess for the morning team. I fell for the way he spoke to everyone with the same respect, whether they were a celebrity chef or a junior line cook. But I never, ever let myself believe it could be anything more than a one-sided crush. Alexei Cross dated socialites, models, women with trust funds and summer homes in the Hamptons. Women whose pictures appeared in San Francisco magazine at charity galas, wearing designer gowns that cost more than my yearly rent. I was the daughter of a postal worker and a grocery store manager who'd scraped together every penny to send their daughter to culinary school. I was good at what I did, I knew that, but I also knew the world we lived in, the invisible lines that separated people like him from people like me. Until that night, 2 years into working for him, the night he asked me to stay late. It was just past midnight. The kitchen at Elysee was silent except for the hum of refrigerators, and my fingers tapping notes for tomorrow's menu into my tablet. I should have gone home hours ago, back to my modest studio in the Mission District, back to the safety of routine and professional distance. But Alexei had asked me to wait, said he wanted to discuss the upcoming food festival in Napa. So I waited. Natalia. His voice cut through my concentration, and I looked up to find him standing in the doorway. He'd changed out of his suit into dark jeans and a soft gray sweater that made him look younger, more approachable, devastatingly handsome in a way that made my chest tight. Yes? He moved closer, and I caught the scent of his cologne mixed with the lingering aroma of the kitchen. Rosemary, lemon, something darker that was uniquely him. I lied earlier. About what? About Napa. I mean, we should discuss it, but that's not why I asked you to stay. He stopped at the counter across from me, close enough that I could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the slight tension in his jaw that spoke of 14-hour days and the weight of an empire on his shoulders. I asked you to stay because I'm tired, Natalia. Tired of pretending. Tired of acting like you're just my chef when you're so much more than that. My heart was hammering so hard, I was sure he could hear it. Alexei, what are you... Let me finish. Please. His accent thickened slightly with emotion. I know this is wrong. I know every rule of professional conduct says I should keep my mouth shut. I know you work for me, and there's a power dynamic, and this could complicate everything. He ran a hand through his hair, messing it further. But I can't anymore. I can't keep pretending that you're just the person who makes my meals, when you're the person who understands what I'm trying to create. The only person who challenges me, who makes me laugh, who makes me feel less alone. He paused, his dark eyes searching mine, who makes me feel like I'm home. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stand there as everything I'd carefully suppressed for 2 years rose up and threatened to overwhelm me. What are you asking? My voice was barely a whisper. Come to Napa with me this weekend, not as my chef, as Natalia. The woman I've been falling in love with for 2 years and was too scared to tell because I didn't want to lose you from my life in any capacity. There it was, the word that changed everything. Love. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. 2 years of imagining this moment, and now that it was happening, I had no words. You don't have to answer now. He took a step back, giving me space. Think about it. If you decide this is too complicated, if you want to keep things professional, I'll never bring it up again. I promise. Your job is safe either way. I needed you to know, needed to stop being a coward about this. And then he turned to leave. Alexei. He stopped, his back to me, waiting. My voice was shaking but clear. 1 weekend. He turned slowly, hope, and something that looked like relief flooding his features. 1 weekend? To see if this is real. To see if it's as perfect outside the kitchen as it feels inside it. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. Like every romantic thing I'd ever read about and dismissed as exaggeration. It transformed him from the intimidating CEO into someone vulnerable and human, and so beautiful it hurt. 1 weekend. He moved back toward me, stopping just close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from him. Natalia Reyes, you have no idea how happy you just made me. I think I might. Can I? He hesitated, searching my face. Can I kiss you? Or is that moving too fast? I don't want to. I kissed him, reached up and pulled him down and pressed my lips to his before fear could talk me out of it. And God, it was everything. He tasted like the espresso he'd been drinking, felt warm and solid and real. His hands came up to frame my face with such gentleness it made my chest ache. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I've wanted to do that for so long. Me too. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. Me too. So, Napa. This weekend? This weekend. And just like that, I agreed to the weekend that would change my life forever. Napa Valley in October was perfect. Golden sunlight filtering through amber leaves, the air crisp and smelling of earth and grapes and possibility. Alexei had rented a villa on a private estate, something rustic and elegant, with exposed wooden beams and a chef's kitchen that made my heart sing. We arrived Friday evening as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of rose and amber. This is incredible. I stood on the terrace, looking out over the rolling vineyards that stretched toward distant mountains. Alexei came up behind me, not quite touching but close enough that I could feel him. I wanted somewhere private. Somewhere we could just be ourselves without cameras or gossip or any of it. He paused. I want you to know there's no pressure this weekend. We can take this as slow as you want. Separate rooms if you prefer. This is about spending time together, really talking, seeing if... Alexei. I turned to face him. I'm nervous. Terrified, actually. But I'm also here because I want to be. Because I've been hiding how I feel for 2 years, and I'm tired of it too. He smiled, soft and genuine. So what do you want to do first? I want to cook with you. Not as chef and boss. As two people who love food and want to make something beautiful together. His eyes lit up. I have ingredients. Of course you do. We moved into the kitchen and it was different from our usual dynamic. Playful. Intimate. We weren't executing a menu or perfecting a dish for service. We were just playing. Pass me the garlic. Say please. He raised an eyebrow, amused. Please, Chef Reyes. That's better. I tossed him the garlic and he caught it one-handed, grinning. You're bossy outside of work. You say that like you mind. I don't. His voice dropped lower. I like seeing this side of you. Relaxed. Happy. I'm happy at work. Are you? Because sometimes I see this tension around your eyes, like you're holding something back. He moved closer under the pretense of reaching for olive oil. Like you're being careful. I'm being careful. I focused on chopping herbs, needing something to do with my hands. I've had to be. Do you know what people would say if they knew I had feelings for my boss? The immigrant girl with the big dreams and the convenient crush on the billionaire? Alexi's hand covered mine, stilling the knife. Look at me. I did. I don't care what people say. I care what you feel, what you want, not what you think is safe or appropriate or what won't cause gossip. His thumb traced my knuckles. What do you want, Natalia? The question hung between us, loaded with meaning. I took a shaky breath. I want to stop being afraid. I want to see what this could be without the weight of professional boundaries. I want to know if you really see me or if this is some fantasy you've built up. Then let me show you. Let me show you that I see exactly who you are, and it's better than any fantasy. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. This kiss was different from the one in the kitchen. Deeper, more certain. His hands tangled in my hair and I pressed closer, tasting wine and promise and 2 years of want finally unleashed. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, dinner was forgotten. We should. I gestured vaguely at the half-prepared food. Later. His voice was rough. Right now, I just want to talk to you. Really talk. No interruptions, no schedules to keep. Just us. We ended up on the terrace with wine as the stars came out, talking about everything we'd never had time for in our professional relationship. Tell me about your family. He settled beside me on the outdoor sofa, close enough that our thighs touched. So I did. I told him about growing up in Tucson, the daughter of Mexican immigrants, who'd worked themselves to exhaustion to give me opportunities. About my abuela teaching me to cook, about the way food had been love in our household, about scraping together money for culinary school and the crushing debt I still carried, about feeling like I was always trying to prove I belonged in spaces that weren't designed for girls like me. Alexi listened with an intensity that made me feel heard in ways I'd never experienced. Your turn. I nudged his shoulder. Tell me something real. He was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the dark vineyard. My father built his first restaurant with money he'd saved working construction. Came to this country with nothing but determination and a recipe book from his mother. He built everything from scratch, and when he died, he left it all to me with this expectation that I'd not just maintain it but exceed it. His jaw tightened. Sometimes I feel like I'm living his dream instead of finding my own. Like I'm chasing this vision of success he had instead of figuring out what I actually want. What do you want? He turned to look at me, his eyes dark and vulnerable. This, you, something real with someone who knows me as more than the empire I inherited. I'm tired of people wanting me for what I have instead of who I am. I don't want your money, Alexi. I know. His hand found mine, intertwining our fingers. That's one of the reasons I fell for you. You've never asked for anything. Never tried to leverage our relationship for advantage. You just show up every day and do brilliant work and challenge me to be better. He brought my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. You make me want to be worthy of you. You already are. The words escaped before I could stop them, raw and honest. Something shifted in his expression. Natalia, can I take you to bed? Not to. If you want, we can just sleep. I just want to hold you, want to wake up with you, Yes. And he did. He took me to bed and made love to me like I was precious. Like every touch was a promise. Like he'd been memorizing what I needed for 2 years and was finally allowed to show me. It was tender and passionate and world-changing. He worshipped every inch of me with hands and lips and words whispered in English, and Russian and Italian, switching languages when emotion overwhelmed him. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with moonlight streaming through the windows, I felt something settle in my chest. Something that felt dangerously like belonging. What are you thinking? His fingers traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. That I'm terrified. Of what? That this is too perfect. That Monday we'll go back to San Francisco, and reality will shatter this. His arms tightened around me. Then we don't let it. We figure out how to make this work in the real world. How? I tilted my head to look at him. You're my boss. There are rules, power dynamics, people will talk. Then we navigate it. Together. His eyes were serious. Natalia, I'm not interested in hiding this. I'm not interested in some secret affair where I get to have you in private but pretend you're just my employee in public. What are you interested in? Building something real with you. Finding a way to remove the professional complications so we can explore this without ethical concerns. Being proud to have you at my side. You make it sound simple. It's not. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. It'll be complicated and messy, and people will have opinions. But you're worth the complication. I fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer and more valued than I'd ever felt in my life. I should have known it was too good to be true. I should have known that fear doesn't dissolve with one perfect night. It waits. It lurks. It strikes when you're most vulnerable. I woke to harsh sunlight and cold panic. The villa was silent, except for the sound of running water from the bathroom. I lay there in the tangle of sheets, my body still warm from Alexi's touch, and felt reality crash over me like a freezing wave. What had I done? I'd slept with my boss. With Alexi Cross, one of the most powerful men in the Bay Area food scene. I'd crossed every professional boundary, jeopardized everything I'd worked for. All for one perfect night. The voices started immediately, vicious and familiar. Gold digger. Sleeping your way to success. The immigrant girl who used her body to get ahead. What will people say when they find out? You're going to lose everything. He'll get bored and you'll be left with a ruined reputation. Girls like you don't get fairy tale endings with men like him. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning and all I could think was that I needed to leave. Needed to get out before this got worse. Before I fell any deeper and gave him the power to destroy me. I was on my feet before conscious thought, gathering my scattered clothes with shaking hands. The emerald dress I'd worn to dinner last night. My shoes kicked off beside the bed. My dignity, nowhere to be found. I had to get back to San Francisco. Had to put distance between us before I made this disaster any worse. I was halfway dressed, hands fumbling with my zipper, when the bathroom door opened. Alexi emerged with a towel wrapped around his waist, his hair damp, a smile on his face that died the instant he saw me. Natalia? What's wrong? I have to go. I couldn't meet his eyes. Couldn't let him see the panic I knew was written all over my face. Go where? His voice was confused, concerned. We were going to make breakfast, drive up to that winery you wanted to. I can't. The words came out strangled. I can't do this. Can't do what? This. Us. I gestured helplessly between us. Last night was what? He took a step toward me, and I took a step back. Something flickered across his face. Hurt. Understanding. Both. A mistake. The word tasted like ash on my tongue, like betrayal, like the worst kind of lie. But I forced it out anyway. Last night was a mistake. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched him process my words. Watched the man who had held me so tenderly, who had whispered that he loved me, who had made me feel like the center of his universe. I watched him retreat behind the mask he wore with difficult investors and hostile critics. Cold, controlled, untouchable. A mistake. He repeated the word flatly, like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. His jaw clenched. I'm sorry. I was grabbing my purse, my keys, anything to avoid looking at his face. I shouldn't have. We shouldn't have. This was wrong. Wrong. Another flat repetition. You're my boss, Alexi. I work for you. There are rules about this kind of thing for a reason. I forced myself to meet his eyes and immediately wished I hadn't. The hurt there was devastating. So what you're saying is, I'm resigning. The words were out before I'd fully thought them through, but the moment I said them, they felt like the only option. The only way to stop this spiral before it consumed me completely. His eyes widened. You're what? I'm resigning. Effective immediately. My voice was steadier now, wrapped in false confidence. I'll send my formal letter tomorrow, but I can't work for you anymore. Not after this. Something changed in his expression. The hurt crystallized into something harder. I see. If that's what you want, but it wasn't what I wanted. God, it was the furthest thing from what I wanted. What I wanted was to take back the words, to cross the space between us and bury my face in his chest and let him tell me it would be okay. What I wanted was to stop being so afraid, but fear was louder. It's what's best. The lie came easier the second time. For who, Natalia? His voice cracked slightly on my name. For who is this best? I couldn't answer. Couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. So I did what cowards do. I ran. I made it to my car before the tears came. Made it onto the highway before the sobs started. Made it almost to San Francisco before I had to pull over because I couldn't see through the crying. My phone buzzed. My best friend, Lucia. I couldn't talk to her. Couldn't explain what I'd just done. Another buzz. Alexei. I'm sorry if I pushed too hard. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. Your job is safe. Take all the time you need. The kindness in his message made everything worse. I turned off my phone and drove the rest of the way home in numb silence. My studio apartment had never felt smaller or more depressing. I stood in the middle of my tiny living room, still wearing the dress from last night, and tried to figure out how I'd managed to destroy the best thing that ever happened to me in the span of a single morning. The resignation letter took 3 hours to write. Dear Mr. Cross, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position as personal chef, effective immediately. I'm grateful for the opportunities you've provided and the professional growth I've experienced during my time with your organization. However, due to personal reasons, I believe it's best that I pursue other opportunities. I wish you and your team continued success. Sincerely, Natalia Reyes. Professional. Distant. Like the past 2 years meant nothing. Like last night never happened. I hit send at 11 p.m. on Sunday night, then stared at my laptop screen until my eyes burned. What had I done? I didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Just lay in bed replaying everything. His hands in my hair. His voice saying he loved me. The way he'd looked at me like I was everything. The hurt in his eyes when I'd called it a mistake. Monday morning, my phone lit up with an email notification. From Alexei Cross. Subject, resignation. My hands shook as I opened it. Natalia, I received your resignation. I'm not accepting it. Come to my office at 2 p.m. today. We need to talk. Alexei. I stared at the screen. He couldn't just not accept my resignation. That wasn't how this worked. You couldn't force someone to stay in a job they'd quit. But at 1:45, I found myself getting dressed in my most professional Navy suit, pulling my hair back in the neat bun I always wore to work, rebuilding the armor I'd let slip this weekend. If he wanted to talk, we'd talk. And then I'd make him understand that this was over, even if it killed me. The Elysee corporate offices occupied the top floor of a building in Soma, all glass and steel and understated elegance. I'd been here dozens of times, but today it felt different. Hostile. Like everyone knew what I'd done. His assistant, Gabriella, looked up as I approached. Her smile was sympathetic. He's expecting you. Go on in. Did she know? Could she tell just by looking at me that I'd crossed every line this weekend? I knocked on his door, even though it was partially open. Come in. Alexei stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. He didn't turn as I entered and closed the door behind me. The silence stretched. You can't refuse my resignation. I broke it first, keeping my voice professional. That's not how this works, isn't it? He turned slowly to face me. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, hair slightly messed like he'd been running his hands through it. The 5 o'clock shadow he usually kept meticulously trimmed had grown in darker. He looked like he'd slept as poorly as I had. If an employee resigns, you accept it or you make a counteroffer. You don't just refuse. What if my counteroffer is that you stay and we figure out how to make this work? There's nothing to figure out. I crossed my arms, defensive. I'm your employee. What happened this weekend was inappropriate. It can't happen again. Can't, or you're too scared to let it. The quiet accusation hit its mark. That's not fair, isn't it? He moved away from the window, coming closer but maintaining careful distance. Natalia, I saw your face yesterday morning. You weren't running because you didn't want this. You were running because you did. Because it scared you. Of course it scared me. I felt my controls slipping. You're Alexei Cross. You're a billionaire. You date models and socialites. And I'm just what? His voice sharpened. Just the woman who makes me laugh. Just the person who understands my vision better than anyone. Just someone who challenges me to be better. He took another step closer. Just the woman I'm falling in love with? Don't. I held up a hand, tears threatening. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. I've been falling for you for 2 years. This weekend just made me brave enough to admit it. You barely know me. I know you take your coffee with cinnamon because it reminds you of your abuela's kitchen. I know you bite your lip when you're perfecting a recipe. I know you send half your paycheck home to your parents and lie about being able to afford it because you're too proud to admit you're struggling. His eyes held mine. I know you dream of opening your own restaurant someday, but you're afraid you're not good enough, even though you're the most talented chef I've ever worked with. I know that when you sleep, you curl into yourself like you're protecting something precious. And I know that loving you is the easiest, most terrifying thing I've ever done. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the pounding of my heart and the truth in his words. That doesn't change the facts. My voice wavered. You're my boss. There's a power dynamic. People will say, I'm not your boss anymore. The words stopped me cold. What? As of this morning, I transferred oversight of all personal chef duties to Marcus Fung. He's head of operations. You'll report to him now if you stay. I've completely removed myself from your chain of command. He pulled out his phone, showed me the email he'd sent at 6 a.m. I took away the obstacle, Natalia. The power dynamic, the professional complication, it's gone. Now the only question is whether you want this. Want me, not as your employer, but as a man who's falling in love with you and wants to see where this goes. I stared at the email, at the radical restructuring he'd done in a single morning. You can't just reorganize your entire company for me. I can do whatever I want. It's my company. His voice softened. And you're worth it. You're worth every restructured department and raised eyebrow and complicated conversation. What about the gossip? I was grasping for objections now. What about people saying I slept my way to my position? Let them think whatever they want. The people who matter know your talent, know your worth, and anyone who suggests otherwise can answer to me. He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Natalia, you earned every opportunity I gave you through skill and dedication and brilliance. Our personal relationship doesn't change that. It doesn't diminish your accomplishments. I'm still scared. Me too. The admission was honest, vulnerable. I've never done this before, never mixed my personal life with my professional world, never let anyone close enough to matter this much, never loved someone enough to risk everything for them. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and cupped my face gently. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. The touch broke something in me. All the walls I'd been frantically rebuilding crumbled, and I was left standing there, raw and vulnerable, and so in love it hurt. What if it doesn't work? What if we try this and it falls apart and we've ruined everything? What if it does work? He countered softly. What if this is the beginning of something beautiful, and you almost missed it because you were too afraid to try? His thumb brushed away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. One chance, Natalia. Give us one real chance. Not a stolen weekend, but an actual relationship where we figure out how to navigate this together, where we face the complications as a team instead of you running every time it gets scary. I looked into his eyes and saw everything I'd been too afraid to want. Partnership, respect, love. One condition, anything. We're equals in this. No more unilateral decisions. No more you trying to fix things without talking to me first. No more assuming you know what's best. My voice strengthened. If we do this, we're partners. In everything. The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise. Partners, he agreed. I like the sound of that. So, what does that mean? Practically, it means we sit down together and figure out how to handle the office dynamics. It means we're honest with HR about our relationship so everything's above board. It means we decide together how public we want to be, how we navigate the gossip, how we maintain professional boundaries at work. He paused. And it means I get to take you to dinner tonight, Not as your boss, but as your boyfriend. And we start building something real. Boyfriend. The word felt foreign and wonderful. You really restructured your company this morning? I really did. Marcus was thrilled, by the way. He's wanted more responsibility for months. This is insane. Completely. His eyes sparkled. But the best things usually are. When he leaned down and kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise, I felt something settle in my chest. Something that felt like coming home. We still had challenges ahead. Office gossip to navigate. Skeptics to face. A relationship to build in the public eye. But for the first time since that perfect night in Napa, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could do this. Maybe I deserved this. Maybe love didn't have to be a fairy tale to be real. What about the gossip? I was grasping now, searching for any reason to keep my walls up. What about people saying I slept my way to my position? That I manipulated you or used our professional relationship to let them think whatever they want. His voice was steel wrapped in gentleness. The people who matter, the people who have worked with you, who have tasted your food, who have seen your talent, they know your worth. They know what you have earned, and anyone who suggests otherwise can answer to me. He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, could see the sincerity in his eyes. Natalia, you earned every opportunity I gave you through skill and dedication and brilliance. Your talent got you hired. Your work ethic kept you employed. Your creativity elevated every menu you touched. Our personal relationship does not change any of that. It does not diminish your accomplishments. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. I am still scared. Me too. The admission was honest, vulnerable, completely unlike the confident CEO everyone else saw. I have never done this before, Natalia. Never mixed my personal life with my professional world. Never let anyone close enough to matter this much. Never loved someone enough to restructure my entire company just to remove obstacles between us. He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, giving me time to pull away. When I did not, his hand cupped my face gently. But I would rather be terrified with you than safe without you. I would rather risk everything for a chance at something real than spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been if I had just been brave enough to fight. A tear slipped down my cheek, and his thumb caught it. What if it does not work? My voice broke. What if we try this and it falls apart, and we have ruined everything for nothing? What if it does work? He countered softly. What if this is the beginning of something beautiful, and you almost missed? It because you were too afraid to believe you deserve good things? His other hand came up to frame my face. One chance, Natalia. Give us one real chance. Not a stolen weekend, but an actual relationship where we figure out how to navigate this together. Where we face the complications as partners, instead of you running every time it gets scary. Where we choose each other every single day and build something neither of us could create alone. I looked into his eyes and saw everything I had been too afraid to want. Partnership, respect, equality, love. One condition. Anything. We are equals in this. No more unilateral decisions. No more you trying to fix things without talking to me first. No more assuming you know what is best for both of us. My voice grew stronger, clearer. If we do this, we are partners. In everything. You do not get to make decisions about my career or our relationship without my input. You do not get to sweep in and solve problems I need to face myself. We talk. We compromise. We respect each other's autonomy. Or this does not work. The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Partners. He agreed immediately. I like the sound of that. Equal partners in everything. So, what does that mean? Practically speaking, it means we sit down together, tonight, and figure out how to handle the office dynamics. We decide together how to tell HR so everything is documented and above board. We talk about how public we want to be, how we navigate the inevitable gossip, how we maintain professional boundaries at work while building a personal relationship outside of it. He paused, his thumbs stroking my cheekbones. And it means I get to take you to dinner tonight, not as your former boss, but as your boyfriend, and we start building something real, something honest, something worth all this fear and risk and complication. Boyfriend. The word felt foreign and wonderful on my tongue. You really restructured your company this morning? At 6 a.m. on a Monday? I really did. Called an emergency meeting with the executive team at 5:30. Marcus was thrilled, by the way. He has wanted more operational control for months. This actually solves several organizational issues I had been putting off addressing. This is insane. Completely. His eyes sparkled, but the best things usually are. When he leaned down and kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise, I felt something settle in my chest. Something that felt like coming home, like choosing myself, like believing, maybe for the first time, that I deserved good things. We still had challenges ahead, office gossip to navigate, skeptics to face, a relationship to build under public scrutiny. But for the first time since that perfect night in Napa, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could do this. Maybe I was strong enough. Maybe we were strong enough together. Maybe love did not have to be a fairy tale to be real. The next 2 weeks were simultaneously the best and most challenging of my life. Alexei and I decided to be transparent rather than secretive. We met with HR on Tuesday, filed the appropriate relationship disclosure forms, sat through an awkward but necessary conversation about company policy and potential conflicts of interest. And then we told the team. I will never forget that Friday morning meeting, standing in front of the Elysee kitchen staff, my colleagues, people I had worked beside for 2 years, and watching their faces as Alexei made the announcement. As most of you know, there have been some organizational changes this week. Marcus Fung is now overseeing all personal chef operations. This change was made to address a personal situation that I want to be transparent about. He paused, and I felt my heart hammering. Natalia Reyes and I are in a relationship. This is new, it is real, and we want to handle it professionally and ethically. That is why the reporting structure has changed. That is why we are telling you directly, instead of letting rumors fill in the gaps. He looked at me, and I saw encouragement in his eyes. I want to be very clear about something. Natalia earned her position here through exceptional talent and dedication. Her work speaks for itself. Our personal relationship does not change her professional accomplishments. And anyone who suggests otherwise is not someone I want on my team. The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Miguel, the sous chef who had been there longer than anyone, started clapping. Slowly at first, then joined by others. Not everyone. Some faces were skeptical, some looked uncomfortable. But enough people were supportive that I felt some of my anxiety ease. After the meeting, as people filed out, several colleagues approached me. About time. Maria, one of the line cooks, grinned. We all saw the way you two looked at each other. Some of us had a betting pool on when one of you would finally make a move. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. You did not. 3 months ago. I lost $20 because I bet on Christmas. She laughed. But I am happy for you, Natalia. You deserve good things. But not everyone was supportive. I overheard Jennifer and Marco talking in the prep area later that day. Their voices carried more than they realized. I mean, it is convenient, right? Jennifer's tone was snide. 2 years of being professional, and suddenly they are together, right? As she is being considered for the new menu development position? Maybe it is real. Marco sounded uncertain. Or maybe she is smart. Date the owner. Secure your future. It is the oldest strategy in the book. I stood frozen outside the door, my chest tight. You do not believe that. Alexei's voice came from behind me, quiet and close. Part of me does. I admitted. Part of me thinks exactly what she is thinking. That I took a shortcut. That I do not deserve. Stop. His hand found mine, squeezed gently. You know your worth. I know your worth. The people who matter know your worth. Let the rest think whatever they need to think. But it was easier said than done. The whispers followed me for weeks. The speculative glances. The sudden silence when I entered rooms. The comments on food blogs when word leaked to the press. Alexei cross-spotted with his personal chef. Is this why her menus have been getting so much attention lately? Sources say the relationship is very new, but how long has it really been going on? Looks like sleeping with the boss still works in 2023. I tried to ignore it. Tried to focus on my work. But every comment felt like confirmation of my deepest fears. 3 weeks into our public relationship, Victoria Chen showed up. I was in the Elysee kitchen, working on a new dessert concept, when I heard her voice in the dining room. Bright, confident, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who had never doubted they had a right to be anywhere. Alexei, darling, it has been too long. I looked up to see her through the pass window. Tall, elegant, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like she had stepped out of a magazine spread about successful women who had it all. She looked like she belonged in Alexei's world, in a way I never would. "Victoria." Alexei's voice was polite, but cool. "I was not expecting you. I know, I should have called first." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "But I was in the neighborhood, and I wanted to discuss the opening of your new restaurant. I have some investors who might be interested. That is something to discuss with my team. You can set up a meeting with—" "Oh, do not be so formal." She touched his arm lightly, familiarly. "We have known each other too long for that. Have lunch with me. Just an hour. We can talk business and catch up properly." I watched Alexei's face, looking for any sign of interest, of regret, of comparison. But his expression remained neutral. "I appreciate the offer, but I have plans for lunch." "Plans?" Her eyebrow arched delicately. "Since when do you turn down a business lunch?" "Since I started prioritizing my personal life." He glanced toward the kitchen, saw me watching, and his face softened in a way that made my chest warm. "Natalia, can you come out here for a moment?" My stomach dropped. This was it. The moment where I would stand next to this perfect, polished woman, and everyone would see exactly how much I did not fit. But I squared my shoulders and walked out of the kitchen, trying to look confident. "Victoria, I would like you to meet Natalia Reyes, my girlfriend." Victoria's eyes widened fractionally, the only sign of surprise on her otherwise composed face. "Your girlfriend," she recovered quickly, extending a manicured hand. How lovely. I had heard rumors, but I did not realize they were true. Her handshake was firm, professional, and somehow managed to feel condescending. "You are his chef, correct?" "I am a chef." I kept my voice level. "I develop menus for the restaurant group. How wonderful that you have found someone who shares your passion for food, Alexei." Victoria's smile did not reach her eyes, though I suppose mixing business and pleasure can be complicated. "We are managing just fine." Alexei's arms slid around my waist, a gesture of support and claim. "Natalia is incredibly talented. Her new seasonal menu launches next month, and it is already generating significant buzz." "I am sure it is." Victoria's gaze swept over me, assessing, comparing, dismissing. "Well, I should let you get back to your plans. Alexei, do call me when you have time to discuss business properly." "It was nice to meet you, Natasha." "Natalia," I corrected quietly. "Of course. My apologies." She smiled again, perfect and cold, and walked away on heels that clicked authoritatively against the floor. When she was gone, I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. That was Victoria Chen? That was Victoria. Alexei turned me to face him. "Are you okay? She is very beautiful. She is very polished." He corrected. "There is a difference." "Natalia, look at me." I did, reluctantly. Victoria and I dated for 6 months, 2 years ago. It was pleasant. It was appropriate. It was everything that looked good on paper. And it was completely hollow. His hands framed my face. Being with her was easy. We moved in the same social circles. We had the same connections. Nobody questioned whether we belonged together. But Natalia, I never felt with her what I feel with you. Not even close. What do you feel with me? Alive. Challenged. Seen. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. With Victoria, I was playing a role. The successful restaurateur with the appropriate girlfriend. With you, I get to be myself. Messy, uncertain, human. And that is worth more than all the easy perfection in the world. I wanted to believe him. But seeing Victoria, seeing how effortlessly she fit into his world, made all my insecurities roar back to life. That night, lying in bed in my apartment, I could not stop replaying the encounter. The way Victoria had looked at me. The way she had said Natasha with just enough dismissiveness to sting. The way she embodied everything I was not. My phone buzzed. "Alexei, stop overthinking. You are better than your insecurities." I smiled despite myself. "How do you know I am overthinking?" "Because I know you, and I know what it looks like when you are comparing yourself to some impossible standard that does not actually matter. She knew your name was Natalia. She just chose to get it wrong. I know. That was a power play. Do not let it work. I am trying. Try harder. You are Natalia Reyes. You are brilliant and talented, and you make me happier than I have ever been. Victoria Chen is my past. You are my present and my future. Stop letting fear tell you otherwise. I love you. The words were out before I could stop them. My first time saying them via text. Somehow that felt safer than in person. The phone rang immediately. I answered. Say that again. His voice was rough with emotion. I love you, Alexei. I love you too. God, Natalia, I love you so much, and I need you to start believing that you deserve that love, that you deserve everything good that is happening, that you earned your place in my life and in this industry. I am working on it. Work harder. He was teasing now, gentle, because I plan to spend a very long time proving it to you, and it would be nice if you met me halfway. Deal. The following weeks brought new challenges. Meeting Alexei's family. His mother, elegant and initially reserved. His younger sister, friendly but protective. A dinner at his childhood home in Pacific Heights that felt like a test I was not sure how to pass. So, Natalia, his mother, Irina, studied me over wine glasses that probably cost more than my security deposit. Alexei tells me you are from Arizona? Tucson, yes. My parents immigrated from Mexico before I was born. And they work in food service as well? My father is a postal worker. My mother works at a grocery store. I kept my voice even, refusing to be ashamed. They worked very hard to send me to culinary school. That must have been difficult. There was something in her tone I could not read. Judgment or respect or simple curiosity. It was, but it taught me the value of hard work and sacrifice. Everything I have, I earned. Irina's eyes sharpened. Good. My son needs someone who understands that wealth is not just inherited. It is built through dedication and sacrifice. She set down her wine glass. I was a seamstress when I met Alexei's father. Worked 12-hour days in a factory in Brooklyn. People looked down on me when we started dating. Said I was after his money, that I did not belong in his world. She smiled, and it was the first warmth I had seen from her. I proved them wrong by being excellent at everything I did. By never apologizing for where I came from. By building my own success instead of riding on his. She leaned forward. Do not let anyone make you feel less than, Natalia. Not even yourself. The acceptance in her eyes made something tight in my chest loosen. Alexei's sister, Sophia, was more direct. He has never brought anyone home before. She told me while we were alone in the kitchen, helping prepare dessert. Not Victoria, not anyone. The fact that you are here, meeting us, this is huge for him. I am terrified I'm going to mess it up. Good, she grinned. That means you care. Just love him, challenge him, and do not let him get away with being emotionally closed off when things get hard. He has a tendency to retreat into work when he is scared. I will remember that. And Natalia, be yourself. That is who he fell in love with. Do not try to become someone you think we want you to be. Meeting my family was different but equally nerve-wracking. My parents' modest home in Tucson. The mix of Spanish and English around the dinner table. The homemade tamales and beans and rice that were worlds away from Michelin-starred cuisine. Alexei fit in better than I expected. He asked my father about his work in careful Spanish, complimented my mother's cooking with genuine appreciation, listened to my abuela's stories about Mexico with respectful attention. He is good man. My abuela told me in Spanish while we cleaned up. He looks at you like mi abuelo looked at me. Like you are the son. But mommy, what if people think? What people think does not matter. She took my face in her weathered hands. What matters is that he respects you, that he values you, that he does not try to make you smaller to fit his world. Does he do those things? Yes. Then stop borrowing trouble. Love him. Let him love you. Build something beautiful together. 4 months into our relationship, the professional crisis hit. A prominent food critic, James Whitmore, was scheduled to review Elise's new seasonal menu. My menu, the first major public showcase of my work since my relationship with Alexei became public knowledge. The review came out on a Thursday morning. I read it on my phone while drinking coffee and felt my world tilt sideways. While the technical execution at Elise remains impeccable, one cannot help but question the recent acclaim for chef Natalia Reyes. Her sudden prominence coincides suspiciously with her relationship with owner Alexei Cross. The menu shows promise but lacks the originality one would expect from someone being positioned as the next big culinary talent. Is this genuine brilliance or carefully orchestrated nepotism? I read it 3 times, each time feeling smaller, more fraudulent. My phone rang. Alexei, do not read the comments. His voice was tight with anger. No, too late. I had already scrolled down to see the speculation, the assumptions, the casual cruelty of anonymous internet voices. She clearly slept her way to this position. Convenient that she is dating the owner. Wonder how her food would be reviewed if she had to make it on actual merit. This is why you do not hire people you are sleeping with. Compromise is everything. I felt sick. I want to sue him for libel. Alexei was saying. I want to demand a retraction. This is unprofessional and biased and no. My voice was clear, decisive. No lawsuits, no demands, no interventions. Natalia, he attacked your professional reputation based on our relationship. That is not acceptable. And if you swoop in to defend me, it proves his point. That I need you to fight my battles. That I cannot stand on my own merit. I took a breath, feeling something solidify in my chest. I need to handle this myself. How? By being so good that the work speaks louder than the gossip. By proving that I earned this position. By letting my talent answer the critics instead of hiding behind you or running away. I surprised myself with the certainty in my voice. I am going to organize an independent showcase. A pop-up dinner with invited critics and industry professionals. Your name nowhere on it. Just me and my food and my team. Let them judge the work without the complication of our relationship. There was silence on the other end. Natalia, that is brilliant and terrifying. And I am so proud of you I cannot even articulate it properly. I am terrified. I know. But you are also one of the strongest people I know. And I will be there, in the audience. Not as your boyfriend who owns restaurants, but as someone who believes in your talent and wants to watch you shine. The pop-up took 3 weeks to organize. I called in every favor I had, rented a small space in the Mission District, invited 20 food critics, bloggers, and industry professionals, kept it intimate and focused. The night of the dinner, I stood in the tiny kitchen and felt the familiar pre-service terror mixed with something new. Determination, purpose, the bone-deep knowledge that I was good enough, talented enough, worthy enough to be here. Alexei arrived early, before any of the other guests. He found me in the kitchen, checking mise en place for the 10th time. Hey, his voice was soft. Look at me. I did. You are going to be spectacular, not because I believe in you, though I do, but because you believe in you. That is what has changed. That is what is going to make tonight different. He kissed me softly. Go show them who Natalia Reyes is. The dinner was perfect. 5 courses that told my story. Mexican flavors with French technique. Familiar ingredients elevated through skill and creativity. Every dish a piece of my heart on a plate. I watched from the kitchen as critics tasted and photographed and took notes. Watched as James Whitmore, the critic who had questioned my talent, worked through each course with increasing attention. At the end of the night, he approached the kitchen, asked to speak with me. Chef Reyes. His voice was formal. I owe you an apology. My previous review allowed personal assumptions to color professional judgment. Tonight's meal was exceptional, innovative, technically flawless, and deeply personal. This is the work of someone with genuine talent and vision. He extended his hand. I will be publishing a correction and a new review. Your relationship with Mr. Cross is irrelevant to your abilities. The food speaks for itself. And it says, you are one of the most exciting young chefs working today. When he left, I stood in that kitchen and cried. Not from relief or vindication, but from the realization that I had fought for myself. Had proven my worth not by hiding or running, but by being excellent. Alexei found me there, tears streaming down my face. You did it. He pulled me into his arms. You stood up for yourself, and you were magnificent. I did it myself, I said into his shoulder. I did not need you to save me, or fix it, or intervene. I handled it. I know. His voice was thick with emotion and pride. That is what I've been trying to tell you. You have always been strong enough. You just needed to believe it. The new review came out 3 days later, glowing, specific, focused entirely on the food and my technical skill and creative vision. It mentioned Alexei only once, in the final paragraph. While Chef Reyes is romantically involved with restaurateur Alexei Cross, this relationship is clearly one of equals. Both are talented professionals who have found personal connection alongside professional respect. If anything, Cross should be grateful to have found someone whose culinary talent matches his business acumen. If you have been following this story and you are rooting for Natalia to succeed, to prove the doubters wrong, to claim her worth, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment and tell me about a time you had to stand up for yourself. A time you proved people wrong through excellence instead of explanations. Let's celebrate the power of believing in yourself. And make sure you are subscribed because this story is not over yet. The best part is still coming. 6 months after the pop-up dinner, I received a phone call that changed everything. Ms. Reyes, this is Catherine Morrison from the James Beard Foundation. I am calling to inform you that you have been nominated for the Rising Star Chef Award. I had to sit down. The James Beard Awards were the Oscars of the culinary world. Chefs spent entire careers hoping for a nomination. Are you sure? There must be some mistake. No mistake. Your work has been impressive this year, and the committee was unanimous in the nomination. The ceremony is in Chicago in May. Congratulations, Chef. When I called Alexei, I was shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I was nominated for a James Beard Award. I was nominated. His shout of joy nearly deafened me. Natalia, that is incredible. That is, do you understand how huge this is? I think I am going to pass out. Do not pass out. Celebrate. You earned this. Every single bit of this. The award ceremony in May was surreal. I sat at a table with Alexei, my parents who had flown in from Tucson, Lucia, who had been crying on and off for an hour, and several other nominated chefs. The ballroom was filled with culinary legends, people I had studied. In school, chefs whose restaurants I had only dreamed of eating at. And the Rising Star Chef Award goes to. The presenter opened the envelope with agonizing slowness. Natalia Reyes. I sat frozen, certain I had misheard, certain this was a dream. Alexei pulled me to my feet, his eyes bright with tears. Go claim what you earned. I made it to the stage on legs that felt like water, accepted the medal with hands that shook, looked out at the sea of faces and felt every doubt, every insecurity, every fear I had ever carried rise up one final time. And then I chose to let it go. I am the daughter of immigrants. My voice was steady, clear. I grew up in a small house in Tucson, where my parents worked multiple jobs to give me opportunities they never had. I learned to cook in my abuela's kitchen, in a space so small you could touch both walls at once. I paused, gathering courage. For a long time, I thought people like me did not get moments like this. I thought girls from my background with my last name and my story were supposed to stay small, stay grateful for whatever scraps we were given, never reach too high or want too much. My eyes found Alexei in the audience, found my parents, found Lucia. But someone believed in me when I was just another culinary school graduate with big dreams and student loan debt. Someone saw my talent and gave me opportunities to grow. Someone pushed me to be better, to trust my instincts, to claim my worth. I held up the medal, and when I was ready to run, when fear told me I was not good enough or did not deserve good things, that same person reminded me that the only mistake is letting fear win. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I did not care. This award is for every person who has been told they do not belong, for everyone who has had their accomplishments questioned because of who they love or where they come from or what they look like, for anyone who has ever been afraid to claim their worth. My voice grew stronger. You do belong. Your dreams are valid. Your talent is real, and you deserve to claim every beautiful thing you have worked for. Do not let fear or doubt or other people's limitations become your limitations. Be excellent. Be brave. Be unapologetically yourself. The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. Later, at the after-party, I found myself surrounded by well-wishers and interview requests. Alexei had given me space to shine, staying nearby but letting this moment be entirely mine. It was nearly midnight when we finally escaped to a quiet balcony, stealing a moment alone. How does it feel? He asked, pulling me against his chest. Surreal. Perfect. Terrifying. I laughed. All of it. You were magnificent up there. His voice was thick with emotion. I have never been more proud of anyone in my life. Thank you. For believing in me. For fighting for us. For not letting me run. Thank you for being brave enough to stay. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. For choosing to believe you deserve good things. We stood there in comfortable silence, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Natalia. Alexei's voice changed, took on a nervous quality I rarely heard. Yes? I know we talked about taking things slow, about building our relationship carefully and not rushing into anything. But standing here, watching you accept that award, hearing you speak about believing in yourself and claiming your worth, he pulled back slightly, reached into his pocket. I do not want to wait anymore. My breath caught as he dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Natalia Reyes, you have taught me that love is not about one person saving another. It is about two people choosing to build something neither could create alone. You have made me braver, kinder, more human. You have challenged me to be worthy of you. He opened the box to reveal a ring. Simple, elegant, with a single diamond that caught the light. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Let me spend forever proving that choosing you was the best decision I ever made. Through tears and laughter and overwhelming joy, I managed one word. Yes. When he slipped the ring onto my finger and pulled me into his arms, I felt something complete. Something that had been building for 2 years, through fear and doubt and challenge and growth. This was not a fairy tale. This was better. This was real. 1 year later, we stood in a vineyard in Napa Valley. The same estate where we had spent that first perfect weekend. But this time, we were surrounded by family and friends, by everyone who had supported us through the challenges. My father and Alexi's mother walked me down the aisle together. A blending of families, of cultures, of worlds that had seemed so separate, but were really just different parts of the same beautiful whole. Our vows were simple, honest, a promise to choose each other every day, to support without controlling, to challenge without diminishing, to build partnership and equality and love. The reception was a blend of both cultures, Mexican food and Russian traditions and Italian music, my mother dancing with Alexi's uncle, my abuela teaching Sofia how to make tortillas, two families becoming one. During our first dance, Alexi pulled me close. Happy, deliriously, I looked up at him. Are you? I am married to a James Beard award-winning chef who loves me despite my terrible habit of working too late and my tendency to be emotionally closed off when I am scared. His eyes sparkled. I am the luckiest man alive. I love you, Alexi Cross. I love you, Natalia Cross. The name still felt new, thrilling, like an identity I was growing into. Flash forward, 3 years after the wedding. I stood in the kitchen of Abuela's, my own restaurant, watching the dinner. Service with the satisfaction of someone who had built something real. The space was intimate, only 40 seats, focused on the kind of food that told stories. Mexican flavors with French technique. My heritage honored. My training showcased. My vision fully realized. Alexi had helped, of course, as an investor and advisor. But this was mine. My concept, my menu, my success. The reviews had been spectacular. The reservations were booked 3 months out. And tonight, a Tuesday in October, the dining room was full of people who came for the food, not the novelty or the connection to Alexi Cross. Chef, my sous chef, a talented young woman named Carmen who reminded me of myself 5 years ago, approached with a question about the mole. We worked through the issue together. I had learned from Alexi's example how to lead without dominating, how to teach without diminishing, how to build a team based on respect and excellence. Table 7 wants to send compliments to the chef. Carmen smiled. They said the pozole transported them to their grandmother's kitchen in Guadalajara. That is the best compliment I could receive. Send them my thanks. As the evening wound down, I stepped out the back door for a moment of quiet. The San Francisco fog was rolling in, cool and familiar. My phone buzzed. Alexi, how is service? Perfect. Smooth. We are fully booked, and the food is excellent. Of course it is. You are excellent. I will be there to pick you up in 20 minutes. I have a surprise. What kind of surprise? The good kind. Just trust me. When service ended, and I had checked on my team and reviewed tomorrow's prep, I found Alexi waiting outside in his car. Where are we going? I asked, sliding into the passenger seat. You will see. His smile was mysterious. He drove us to our home in Pacific Heights, the house we had bought together, decorated together, filled with both our histories and our shared future. But instead of going inside, he led me to the backyard, to the garden that had become my sanctuary. There, in the center of the lawn, was a telescope. What is this? Look up. He pointed at the sky. I did, but the city lights made it hard to see stars. No, through the telescope. He adjusted it for me. I looked and gasped. The moon, huge and detailed, craters visible, absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. But I do not understand. Our children are going to want to know about the stars, he said softly, about the universe and possibility in reaching for things that seem impossible. I turned to look at him, my heart pounding. Our children? His hand covered my stomach, where our secret had been growing for 8 weeks, a secret I had only confirmed yesterday, had been planning to tell him this weekend. How did you know? You stopped drinking wine 2 weeks ago. You have been exhausted. You keep touching your stomach when you think I am not looking. His eyes were bright. I know you, Natalia. I notice everything about you. We are having a baby. The words felt huge, terrifying, wonderful. We are having a baby. He pulled me into his arms, and they are going to have your talent and your strength and your courage, and we are going to teach them that they can reach for anything they want, that their worth is not determined by where they come from, but by who they choose to be. Tears streamed down my face. Happy tears, grateful tears, overwhelmed tears. I love you, I whispered against his chest. I love you too, both of you. We stood there in our garden, under the San Francisco sky, and I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The fear I had almost let win, the courage I had found, the love I had claimed. And I thought about that morning in Napa, when I tried to resign, when I had almost thrown it all away. What would I tell that version of myself? What would I say to the terrified girl who thought she did not deserve good things? Now, I want to talk to you directly, to anyone watching this who sees themselves in my story, to anyone who has ever been afraid to claim what they want, to anyone who has let fear make their decisions. First, to those of you who are afraid of taking risks. I get it. I really do. The safe choice feels so much easier than the leap of faith. But let me tell you what I learned. Playing it safe does not protect you from pain. It just guarantees you will never know what you are capable of. That night when I ran from Napa, I thought I was protecting myself, protecting my career, my reputation, my heart. But all I was really doing was running from happiness because I was too scared to believe I deserved it. So ask yourself, what is fear stealing from you right now? What opportunity are you letting slip away because you are convinced it is too good to be true? What love are you running from because you think you are not worthy? Second, to those of you who feel like you do not belong, like you are an outsider in spaces that were not designed for people like you. Listen to me carefully. You belong anywhere you choose to be excellent. Your background is not a limitation. It is a unique perspective. Your struggles are not weaknesses. They are proof of your strength. The obstacles you have overcome are not things to hide. They are your origin story. I used to think that being the daughter of immigrants, being the girl from Tucson, with student loan debt and secondhand clothes, I thought that made me less than. But it actually made me more determined, more resilient, more appreciative of every opportunity. Do not let anyone make you feel like your story is less valuable than theirs. Your journey is what makes you unique. Own it. Third, to those of you in complicated situations, relationships that do not fit neat categories, choices that do not have easy answers. Life is messy. Love is complicated. Success rarely follows a straight path. And that is okay. Alexi and I could have let the complications win, the power dynamics, the professional ethics, the public scrutiny. We could have decided it was too hard, too risky, too complicated to navigate. But we did the work. We restructured. We communicated. We set boundaries. We faced criticism and gossip and doubt, both external and internal. And we built something real because we were willing to do the hard work of navigating complexity together. So if you are in a situation that does not have an easy solution, do not give up. Do the work. Have the hard conversations. Set the boundaries. Build the structures that let you maintain your integrity while pursuing what matters to you. Fourth, to those of you who have been hurt before, who have learned to protect yourselves by not hoping for too much, I understand. I really do. It feels safer to keep your walls up, to never let anyone close enough to hurt. You, to expect disappointment so you are never devastated when it arrives. But that is not living. That is just surviving. Alexi had been burned by superficial relationships. I had been overlooked and underestimated. We both had reasons to be guarded, but we chose vulnerability anyway. We chose to risk being hurt because the alternative, never connecting, never loving, never being fully seen, that was worse than any potential heartbreak. You deserve to be loved, fully, completely, for exactly who you are. But you have to be brave enough to let people see the real you. Walls keep pain out, but they also keep love out. Fifth, to those of you supporting others, being the friend or family member or mentor who believes in someone's potential, you are making more difference than you know. Lucia, my best friend, never doubted me even when I doubted myself. Alexi's mother shared her own story of overcoming judgment. My abuela reminded me that love is what matters. Marcus, my supervisor, respected my talent and gave me room to shine. Those moments of support, of belief, of encouragement, they changed my life. They gave me strength when I had none left. They reminded me of my worth when I forgot. So be that person for someone else. Believe in them. Encourage them. Celebrate their victories and support them through their struggles. You might be the voice that drowns out their self-doubt. You might be the reason they choose courage over fear. And finally, to all of you watching, wherever you are in your journey, your story matters. Your dreams are valid. Your fear is understandable, but it does not have to win. I am not special. I am not uniquely brave or talented or deserving. I am just someone who decided to stop running from good things, who chose to believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserve the happiness I wanted. And if I can do that, you can too. Whatever you are facing right now, whatever choice is keeping you up, at night, whatever fear is holding you back, I want you to know this. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you believe. You are worthy of every good thing you have been too afraid to claim. The right person, the right opportunity, the right path. It will not ask you to make yourself smaller. It will challenge you to become everything you are capable of being. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. It will not. But you can act anyway. You can choose courage even when your hands are shaking. You can claim your worth even when the voices of doubt are screaming. That night when Alexei told me he loved me, I had a choice. Run from fear or run toward possibility. I almost chose fear. I almost let it steal the greatest love of my life. But I did not. And that choice, that terrifying, exhilarating choice to stay, to fight, to believe, it changed everything. On the other side of fear, there is a life more beautiful than you can imagine. But you have to be brave enough to find out. So here is my challenge to you. Choose one thing you have been too afraid to do. One dream you have been too scared to pursue. One person you have been too uncertain to love. One risk you have been too cautious to take. And take one small step toward it. Just one. Today. Comment below and tell me what that step is going to be. I will be reading every single comment and cheering you on, because I remember what it feels like to stand at that edge. And I want you to know you are not alone. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in choosing courage over comfort. Hit that notification bell if you want more stories about real people finding real love and real success. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they are worthy of their dreams. Let us build a community of people who refuse to let fear write our stories, who believe that we deserve good things, who are brave enough to claim them. 5 years after that morning in Napa, I stood in my kitchen at home on a Sunday morning. Our daughter, Elena, was 2 years old, helping me make pancakes with more enthusiasm than skill. Our son, Marco, was 6 months old, sleeping peacefully in his father's arms while Alexei read the paper. This was my life, messy and imperfect and more beautiful than any fairy tale. I had a thriving restaurant, a James Beard Award, a cookbook coming out next year, but more importantly, I had love, real love, the kind built on partnership and respect and choosing each other every day. Elena got flour in her hair and I laughed. Alexei looked up from the paper and smiled at us, his eyes soft with the kind of contentment that comes from being exactly where you belong. And I thought about that scared girl who almost resigned, who almost ran from this, who almost let fear win. I wanted to tell her that it gets better, that the fear never fully goes away but you learn to act despite it, that choosing courage is hard, but choosing regret is harder, that love is worth the risk, that you are worth the fight. But mostly, I wanted to tell her this: you deserve good things. You deserve love and success and happiness and every beautiful thing you have been too afraid to want. Not because you are perfect, not because you have earned it through suffering, but simply because you exist, because you are human, because worthiness is not something you achieve. It is something you claim, so claim it. Choose courage, choose love, choose yourself. The rest will follow. My name is Natalia Reyes Cross. I am a chef, a wife, a mother, a James Beard Award winner, and a woman who almost let fear steal everything. But I did not. I chose possibility over protection. I chose faith over fear. I chose to believe I deserved the happiness I wanted. And that choice changed everything. What will you choose? Thank you for watching this story. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you. If it resonated with you, if any part of it felt familiar or gave you hope, please share it. Please comment. Please join this community of people choosing courage. Your story is not over. Your best chapters are still being written, and you get to choose how they unfold. Choose bravely. Choose love. Choose the life you actually want, not the one fear tells you to accept. I promise you, it is worth it.